Namaskaram. Hello and welcome, hardworking aspirants. Today, I pose a question to you. Was the revolt of 1857 the first war of independence, or was it a mere sepoy mutiny? The mutiny, which started with Mangal Pandey but went on to become a war cry for the independence of India. The mutiny, which started with the greased Enfield cartridges, which were rumored to be made of out of the pigs and the cows, but were those only the reasons, or there were some other reasons also? Well, the historians, when they talk about the 1857 revolt, they believe the most immediate cause for the revolt of 1857 was these greased Enfield rifles. So, what do you think? We are going to see it together in this informative class. Let's get started. But before we get going, guys, if you're preparing for TSPSC Group 1, Group 2, or you're preparing for UPSC CSE 26-27, this is the opportunity for you right now. You can call on the numbers given below and book your seats straightforward. Also, if you want the PDF of these classes for free, you can join our Telegram channel and you will get the PDF for free. Also, if you have any question for any of the mentors, any of the educators, you can call on the numbers given below and get started. So, the question persists still. The revolt of 1857, was it a mere mutiny, or was it the first war of independence? By the way, there was an individual named as V.D. Savarkar, and he said it to be as the first war of independence. And let's get started. But before we get into the details of it, let me tell you about a very interesting story. An interesting story about the chapati movement. So, what was this chapati movement or the roti movement that happened? So, the chapati or the roti movement was a very mysterious movement. It is yet not found that what exactly it was, but it was rumored that there would be an individual who used to come to the villages, and he would pass some chapatis and he would tell that please make more chapatis, make more rotis, and distribute it to the other villagers and to the other villages as well. And while the Britishers came to know about it, they were quite very threatened from it. They were quite very afraid that what actually is happening. They took the roti. If there is any code written, if there is any message hidden in the rotis or the chapatis, but nothing was to be found there, and that is what made them more afraid. So that's one interesting story of the 1857 revolt. But there were many causes. As I said you, it was not only the Enfield rifles, but there were other things also is responsible, like the economic causes, the political, the administrative, socio-religious influence of outside events, as well as discontent among sepoys. One thing to make you very sure, this is a very important topic because the questions from it has been continuously asked in prelims as well as in mains examination. So you not only should know the factual informations of it, but you should also know the analytical thinking point of view that is required here. Okay, so first and foremost, the economic causes. What were the economic causes? Let's see them very quickly. The peasant exploitation. So heavy taxation was done on the peasants, and the company's revenue settlements impoverished the peasants at that time, forcing them into debt. So what happens when a peasant is forced to pay a lot of tax? They will take the money from money lender, but where are they going to return to the money lender? That is not going to happen. So what will happen? They will also lose their home, they will lose their land. So this is the peasant exploitation. That's number one, economic causes. Number two, rise of landlessness. Because this thing was happening and because jamindari system was also disintegrating, leading to widespread landlessness, and chronic rural indebtedness was increasing at that time. Number three is the decline of artisans. Annexation of Indian states deprived artisans of patronage from native rulers and nobles. So before this, what was happening? The kings, the rulers, were supporting the local artisans. But now, as the Britishers are taking over those kings and kingdoms, So who are going to look after the artisans? Nobody is there. And the destruction of handicraft. British policies discouraged Indian handicrafts while promoted British goods. It is just like that you put a lot of tariff on Indian goods and you promote the British goods without any tariff, you import them in India. So that was also one of the economic causes that we have seen. Next, see the political causes. What were the political causes? Expansionist policies, like the East India Company followed aggressive policies for the effective control. They had this subsidiary alliance. In subsidiary alliance, what they did, they put the British army there. Rather, the Indian rulers, the Indian princes were asked not to keep their own army. Okay, and that army's salary was also to be paid by the Indian kings only. Second was the doctrine of lapse. What was doctrine of lapse? Doctrine of lapse, if there is no biological heir of the king, okay, there is no biological prince of the king, so that kingdom will be taken over by whom? It will be taken over by the Britishers. Now this broke the pledge and it created widespread distrust among the Indian princes. Second was the denial of succession. This we have already seen through the doctrine of lapse. Succession was denied. Number three, humiliation of the Mughals. In 1856, after Prince death, Lord Canning declared that future successors must renounce the Mughal title and palaces, further eroding Mughal prestige at that time. And the impact on the society. So the downfall of rulers and aristocracy deprived many cultural and religious groups of patronage, weakening traditional social and cultural institutions at that time. This is something that you should know. Next are the administrative causes. What were the administrative causes? Rampant corruption. So there was a lot of corruption in the company. So the company workers were making a lot of money at that time, but the Indians were deprived of it, and even the company was deprived of it. It is something that we should notice. And there was this alien rule. British governance appeared to foreign and distant to Indians. We were not resembling with the Britishers, okay, and our sovereignty was also absent at that time. That is something that we see here. Next, we see the racial and the religious interference. So when we talk about the socio-religious causes, here this is really very important. The British displayed racial superiority and encouraged missionary activities with socio-religious reforms like abolition of sati, widow remarriage, women's education. Though this is a good step, but the Indians at that time will take it as something which is encroaching upon their religious rights, okay. And the religious insecurities, like the policies such as taxing temple and mosque land and the Religious Disability Act of 1856, which altered Hindu inheritance laws and deepened fears of cultural and religion intrusion. So what were the new laws, whatever this Britishers were implementing? It all were looking to interfere with the religions at that time, and that was not to be the liking of the people at that time. And the influence of outside events, like the British military setback at that time, the British suffered major defeat in the first Afghan war in 1838-42, Punjab wars of 1845-49, and the Crimean war of 1854-56. This is something. Now, the psychological impact was also there. These losses weakened the image of British invincibility, and it also created a belief among Indians that if they can be defeated there, why can't we defeat them? So this was something that was to be noticed there. Now, next is the discontent among sepoys. This was the most important part. There was religious interference. Sepoys resented restriction on caste religious practices at that time. They feared that by chaplains, and opposed the General Service Enlistment Act, now which required service overseas against Hindu beliefs. Now understand one thing, Hindus at that time believed that they cannot cross the sea and go outside. They should not. Otherwise, if they are going, then they are no more the Hindus, okay. So that is why, but there was laws. You are a sepoy, so you will be asked to go there. This also created a discontent. Secondly, economic grievances. Indian soldiers faced pay discrimination. They are working the very same as the Britishers, but the Britishers are getting 1,000 rupees, Indians are getting 100 rupees for it. Loss of foreign service allowance. So no bhatta was given, no allowance was given to the Indians, but Britishers were getting it. And in Punjab and Sindh, and on overall enrollment compared to their British counterparts. This is something that we see. Okay. A very good evening. Shraddha explains political and social discontent, annexation of Awadh, home to many sepoys, racial discrimination in promotion, and their identity as peasants in uniform connected their grievances. So they are not being allowed the same whatever was happening with the British sepoys. They are not getting the very same treatment. Okay, this is something that made the discontent among the Indians. And legacy of revolts, the sepoy discontent drew on a history of earlier mutinies in Bengal in 1764, Vellore in 1806, and Barakpur in 1825, making the army a recurring center of resistance. So this was discontent among the sepoys that we see. Now the beginning and spread of the revolt, how it started. So the religious offense from Carthage. Immediate reason for the 1857 revolt to start was the new Enfield rifle, which required biting of the greased cartridges. Now these greased cartridges were rumored to be made of cow fat, which was sacred to the Hindus, and pig fat, which was a taboo for Muslims, deeply offending both the communities. Failure of army administration was also there. The British did not address or clarify these fears, reinforcing sepoys' belief that their religion and tradition were under threat. Even if it was not made of cows and pigs' fat, but Britishers did not care to make clarity for this. Okay, that was also a reason and trigger for rebellion. The Carthage issue was not sole cause, but became the spark that brought long-standing discontent. So already you see there were many reasons already there. Now this greased cartridges was just like lighting the matchstick. Okay, the matchstick is lighted now, and then what the beginning of the spread revolt. Now here you see this greased cartridge. There is this paper case and the powder and the billet, and here is the greased. Now the soldier tears open the end of the cartridge with his teeth. This is the part which he has to open it, and he pours the powder down the muzzle of his rifle. Then he trusts the bullet still wrapped in the cartridge, so that is to be poured down here, and he takes his ramrod from the slot beneath the rifle and rams paper bullet and powder into the bottom of the barrel. Okay, now this is the complete structure that you can see here. So at the end of the day, he has to bite here, he has to bite open it here, that you can see here, and that you have to put. And these only was told to be made of what? It was told to be made of cow's fat or pig's fat. Now where it started at Meerut. So on April 1857, we see discontent began before Meerut. 19th Native Infantry at Berhampur mutinied and was disbanded. Then we see Mangal Pandey of the 34th Infantry attacked a British officer at Barakpur and was executed. And the 7th Awadh Regiment also defied officers and was dissolved. So slowly and gradually you see the sepoys are revolting. Then you see the Meerut incident of May 1857. On April 24, 90 soldiers of the 3rd Native Cavalry refused grease cartridges. On May 9, 85 of them were court-martialed, imprisoned, and fettered there. Now next you see the outbreak of revolt. May 10, 1857, soldiers at Meerut revolted, freed comrades and killed British officers, raised the banner of rebellion, and marched to Delhi, marking the official outbreak of the revolt of 1857. Now this is very surprising. The sepoys, when they outbroke, they went to Delhi and they made Bahadur Shah Jafar as their leader. Now you understand one thing, most of the sepoys there were Hindus and Muslims both, but all of them accepted Bahadur Shah Jafar as their leader. This talks about the Hindu-Muslim unity then. That's number one. And number two, because before this Mughals were ruling and Mughal emperor was there. So they wanted to show that the Britishers are not the emperor or ruler here. It was the Mughal emperor at that time. The sepoys entered Delhi, killed European officer including Simon Fraser, overcame Lieutenant Willibrord's resistance at the magazine and seized the city. The sepoys proclaimed the powerless Mughal emperor as the ruler of India. Now, did Bahadur Shah Jafar actively participate and fight in the revolt of 1857? No, he was very old. He did not fight there. Okay. Now, elevating Bahadur Shah reflected the Mughal dynasty's traditional role as unifying force, turning a mere mutiny into a wider political and revolutionary struggle. Though religion was a factor, the rebels were driven mainly by the idea of overthrowing the Britishers. So most important part was that we have to overthrow the British. And responding to Bahadur Shah's call for confederacy, the Bengal army and the regional powers rose in rebellion, spreading the revolt across Awadh, Rohilkhand, Bundelkhand, Central India, Bihar, and the parts of Punjab at that time. This is something that you should see. Now, civilians also joined it. Civilians, like alongside sepoys, the civil population, peasants, artisans, shopkeepers, laborers, zamindars, priests, and officials rose in rebellion. This is something that you should know, especially in Awadh and northwestern provinces. There was popular grievances. Peasants and petty zamindars vented anger against money lenders and landlords, destroying debt records, account books, and also the revenue offices, courts, and the police stations at that time. Scale of civilian losses, if we talk about, in Awadh alone, 1,50,000 who died fighting the British, more than 1 lakh were civilians, showing the depth of popular involvement and the spread of revolt. Within a month of Delhi's capture by rebels, the uprising spread rapidly to various parts of the country. The storm centers and the leaders of the revolt, this is something you should see. In Delhi, there was symbolic versus real leadership. While Bahadur Shah Jafar was a nominal leader of Delhi, actual control was exercised by a court of soldiers led by General Bakht Khan. This is something that you should know, supported by 6 army and 4 civilians. This council managed state affairs in the name of the emperor, and there was weakness at the center because Bahadur Shah was old aged and weak personality, and he also lacked the leadership qualities. This skill created serious political weakness, damaging the effect that should have been there. Next, you see the Nana Sahib in Kanpur. So, adopted son of the last Peshwa Baji Rao II, denied his title and pension by the British, forced to live near Kanpur. His role in revolt expelled the British from Kanpur, proclaimed himself as the Peshwa, and acknowledged Bahadur Shah as emperor and declared himself his governor. Sir Hugh Wheeler surrendered on June 27, 1857, but was killed the same day, marking Kanpur as a major center of revolt. Next is the Begum Hazrat Mahal. She was from Lucknow, wife of deposed Nawab Wajid Ali and Shah of Awadh, and took leadership when revolt broke out at Lucknow on June 4, 1857. This is important. She proclaimed her son Brijesh Qadar as Nawab, set up an administration with equal participation of Hindus and Muslims, and the residency was besieged. British attempts under Havelock and Outram failed. Finally, Colin Campbell took over. Khan Bahadur Khan in Bareilly, background descendant of the former ruler of Rohilkhand, dissatisfied with the pension given by the Britishers, raised an army of about 40,000 soldiers and assumed command at Bareilly, and offered strong and organized resistance to the British forces in Rohilkhand region, that we can see for the Khan Bahadur Khan in Bareilly. Next is the Kuwar Singh. Kuwar Singh was from Bihar, Jamindar of Jagdishpur. In his 70s, held an grudge against the British for depriving him of his state. When sepoys from Dinapur, that is the Danapur, reached Ara is still there, he immediately joined them. Despite his age, he became the key leader of the revolt in Bihar. That was Kuwar Singh from Bihar. Next is Maulvi Ahmadullah in Awadh, a native of Madras who later settled in Faizabad, Uttar Pradesh, fought fiercely against British troops, became a central leader during the uprising in Awadh, and his contributions emerged as one of the most respected and acknowledged leaders of the revolt. Next is the Rani Lakshmibai and Tantia Tope in Jhansi and Central India. Rani Lakshmibai lost Jhansi due to Lord Dalhousie doctrine of lapse after her husband's death. She raised the cry, "मैं अपनी झांसी नहीं दूंगी," and there is famous poem recorded to her that दिखा गई पद सिखा गई हमको जो सीख सिखानी थी, बुंदेले हर बोलों के मुंह हमने सुनी कहानी थी, खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी. So it is just said that she was very brave and she fought better than what men can fight, and she was Jhansi ki Rani. After being driven from Jhansi, Rani allied with Tantia Tope. Together they advanced to Gwalior, where soldiers welcomed them. Nana Sahib was proclaimed Peshwa, planning expansion southwards. Rani became the symbol of resistance and martyrdom, while Tantia Tope carried forward guerrilla campaign after Gwalior was captured by the British in June 1858. So this was from Jhansi. We have Rani Lakshmibai and the Tantia Tope. The sacrifice of common men. Leadership of Samal, a villager from Pargana, Bharat, Bagpat, Uttar Pradesh. Samal mobilized headmen and peasants of 84 villages. that is the Chaurasi days, to rise against British authority. Then resistance activities of rebels attacked government buildings, destroyed bridges and roads, symbols of British rule, cut official communications and supplied provisions to Delhi mutineers. Parallel administration was also made from his Yamuna side headquarters and irrigation bungalow. Samal turned it into a hall of justice, resolving dispute, ran an intelligence network, and also martyrdom legacy. Samal was killed in July 1857 by a British officer, and his head was displayed publicly to instill fear. This is what Britishers used to do to instill fear in the Indians at that time. Now, the suppression of the revolt, obviously, it will happen. Fall of the Delhi, September 1857. After bitter fighting, Delhi was captured on 20 September 1857. Bahadur Shah was arrested and he was exiled to Rangoon. This is asked, so please remember. His princes were executed and the Mughal dynasty extinguished at this time. Vengeance and repression, the British inflicted brutal reprisals on Delhi's population and defeat of leaders. One by one, leaders fell. Rani Lakshmibai died in battle in June 1858. Tatya Tope was captured and executed in 1859. Nana Sahib fled to Nepal. Kunwar Singh, Bakht Khan, Khan Bahadur Khan, Rao Sahib, Maulvi Abdullah Ahmadullah perished, and Begum of Awadh also fled to Nepal at that time. Suppression elsewhere, rebellions in Kanpur, Lucknow, Jhansi, Bareilly, Bihar and Banaras were captured and mercilessly they were suppressed. Restoration of British power by 1859, British authority was completely re-established, though at huge cost in men, money and arms later recovered from Indians themselves. So why the revolt failed? What was the reason? Number one, it was limitedly spread. It was not spread to each and every corner of India. Rather, it was mainly to North and Central India. Okay. Number two, partial participation. Not all the groups participated into it. There were several rulers like the Sindhi of Gwalior, Holkar, Indore, Patiala, Sindh, Kashmir, Sikh chiefs. All of these, they did not attend it. They abstained from it. Okay. This is something that you should know. Poor arms and communication was there. So the Britishers had better arms and ammunition. The Indians were not having those arms and ammunition. The Britishers had better communication that they can communicate with each other. Indians were not having that. This electric telegraph was missing. And the weak organization and leadership. Obviously, we have seen leaders like Nana Sahib, Tantia Tope, Rani Lakshmibai were military weaker in compared to the skilled British generals like the Havelock Outram and the Nicholson. And also we had Bahadur Shah Zafar at the top, who was quite very old and very weak as a leader at that time. There was this feature of Hindu-Muslim unity also, that we see shared leadership and cooperation when they make Bahadur Shah Zafar as the emperor. Then the symbolic unity was there when they go to the Mughal capital Delhi. They are talking about this, and the rebels often banned cow slaughter to respect Hindu beliefs. Joint participation, you see Nana Sahib had Muslim aid, Azimullah, and Rani Lakshmibai was supported by the Afghan soldiers. And historical significance, the revolt showed that the Indian society and politics before 1858 were not fundamentally communal. It was made communal by the Britishers. So the nature of the revolt, British historians view, many like Sir John Seeley dismissed it as a mere sepoy mutiny, selfish and patriotic without native leadership or popular support. Moderate Indian view, historians like Dr. K. Datta saw it mainly as a military outbreak aided by discontented princes and landlords. Nationalist views, V.D. Savarkar called it first war of independence. Please remember V.D. Savarkar's name, it will be asked in the examination, and Dr. S.N. Sen noted it began as a religious fight but ended as a war of independence. Critical views, Dr. R.C. Mujumdar denied it was a national or true war of independence, and Marxist interpretation, some saw it as a soldier-peasant struggle against foreign and feudal oppression. Other, Nehru, M.N. Roy, R.P. Datta, read it as a feudal characters with peasants' participation but leadership rooted in feudalism. What was the consequences of it? There was transfer of power in 1858. The Act for Better Government of India, that is, it ended the company rule, and Queen Victoria became the sovereign of India at that time. A Secretary of State for India was also appointed, and the Governor General assumed the additional title of the Viceroy at that time. Queen's proclamation in November 1, 1858 promised an end to the annexation, respect for native princes, religious freedom, equal protection under law, and non-discrimination in government services. princely states recognized as part of British paramountcy, and but their dignity and rights were to be respected. Annexation policy of doctrine of lapse was officially abandoned. Who started the doctrine of lapse? Can you tell me? Army reorganization, number of Europeans increased, Indian troops reduced, divide and rule policy introduced by the recruiting from martial races like Punjab, Nepal, Northwest frontier, and caste community and regional divisions reinforced in army structure at that time. Amalgamation scheme of 1861, companies, European troops merged with the crown forces. Regular troop rotation to the England, Indian artillery disbanded except mountain batteries. Higher ranks reserved exclusively for the Europeans at that time. Now let's see few of the questions and yes, Bhavna, very good evening, Bhavna Gehlot ji. Which of the following statements about the revolt of 1857 is or are correct? Number 1, Bahadur Jafar was proclaimed as the Emperor of India. Number 2, Nana Sahib declared himself as the Peshwa and acknowledged Bahadur Shah as the Emperor. Number 3, Begum Hazrat Mahal declared her son British Qajar as the Nawab of Awadh. It looks like all three of them are correct. Well, you can pause the video and see the explanation. Also, if you want the PDF of these classes for free, you can join our Telegram channel, or you can call on the numbers given below if you have any specific question to me or to any educator. The immediate cause of the revolt of 1857 was the annexation of Awadh. No. Introduction of Enfield rifle. Yes, this is the correct answer. So number B looks like the correct answer here, and the correct answer is obviously number B. You can again check the explanation by pausing the video. Which of the following was not a consequence of the revolt of 1857? The rule of East India Company was abolished and governance was transferred to the British Crown. It was the reason. The policy of annexation was formally ended. Yes. The Indian army was reorganized with more reliance on Europeans. Yes. Indians were given high rank in the army and artillery. No, this is not correct. Indians were not given high rank in the army and artillery department. So number D is the correct answer here. Let's see number 4. Rani Lakshmi Bai of Jhansi. Okay. Kunwar Singh of Bihar. Okay. Khan Bahadur Khan of Bareilly. Okay. Nawab of Arcot, Madras. Consider the following pairs of leader and center of revolt of 1857. You see, number 4 is what we have not seen. So the Nawab of Arcot did not play any role in the revolt. 1, 2, and 3 is correct here. Let's see the last question now. The revolt of was confined only to sepoys and had no civilian participation. This is wrong. It had the peasants, it has the laborers, it had the landlords, it had the artisans. Hindu and Muslim leaders both took part in the revolt. Yes, true. V.D. Savarkar described the revolt as the first war of independence. Yes, true. Number 1 is not correct. 2 and 3 is correct. So B, 2 and 3 is the correct answer here. Yes, Bhavna, you have given the right answer. Well done. Okay. So 2 and 3 is the correct answer here. Okay, guys. So with that, we have come to the end of this class. So if you are preparing for UPSC, TSPSC or APPSC, you can join one-on-one live mentorship by Deepika ma'am, who is having 20 plus years of experience and who has guided hundreds of aspirants into the administrative services. Okay, so don't waste any time. Call on the numbers given below, and if you want to meet us again, you need to subscribe and like it. We'll meet again. Till then, keep working hard for success. Today or tomorrow, you will be successful. Thank you. Namaskaram.